Hello, sweet sacred soul friends. So, I am here to share a little bit about some of the daily practices that I use and a little bit about my journey with daily practices in terms of, your inner health and well-being and stuff that can serve and support healing and soul awakening and all of that. Firstly, through the past many years, there's been consistent daily practices that have become forms of muscle memory. And so I no longer need to set time aside where I'm really focused on the practices I'm doing. Instead, it's all muscle memory. It feels like intuition because I've encoded the patterns of navigation into my body, and things that used to take a lot of intentionality and conscious focus and mindful presence and diligent application are now just muscle memory, as simple as writing something down or speaking, or just the things that come naturally because I practice them so consistently, they became muscle memory, basically. And so I want to preface this with that. Everyone's at a different point of their journey. And for many, many years, the journey for my past version of self was there's this very specific, set of practices. We show up every day and it takes a lot of focus to do it. But doing that over and over again for days, weeks, months, and years allows that to become a very natural part of your daily experience. And so I want to preface it with that. Daily practices are going to look different for everyone at every point of their journey, for every type of intention that you have, every purpose for a practice. And through different seasons of expansion, we'll have different practices that we want to show up for. So at the present point of my journey, I do not have set practices that I make sure to show up for every single day. Instead, it's how can I practice love? How can I practice presence? And what do I need right now? And that changes moment to moment, day to day, week to week. And there's a large collection of practices that I have to choose from. So when I notice, oh, my mind needs this. Oh, my body needs this. Oh, my soul is craving this. Oh, my inner child needs this. Oh, my inner life partner, present moment self needs this. Oh, my mental health needs this. Oh, my emotional health needs this. Oh, these different parts of self, which are explored through my trifecta treasure trove models in a particular way, there's different practices that can serve and support them. And so when you're in kind of the earlier stages of a journey, it's really important to have specific practices you show up for consistently every day, because you're building up that inner muscle to learn to be there for yourself. And you are cultivating a loving and trusting relationship within your own consciousness, so that subconscious parts of you learn to trust that you are going to have the capacity to show up and be there for them in a way that serves and supports them, nourishes them, attunes with them, meets them where they are, and lovingly leads them to a better state of being. And so for a long time in the journey, I think for my past version of self, it was like every day for 3, 4, 5 years. The journey is you have specific practices, you show up every day because you're building a trusting relationship within yourself. And then in that journey, maybe there's disruptions of well-being you're looking to heal and resolve and transform, and you have practices that serve and support the transformation of that. Maybe you're looking to incorporate new healthy habits, or regulate your nervous system, or expand into new sensations of your own inner realities, whatever it might be. So different stages, you'll have practices, and it is important to show up every single day for those specific practices. Okay, I want to preface it very strongly with that. When I work with one-on-one clients, there's an absolute must necessity to have very specific practices you show up for every single day. Okay, that being said, at this stage of my journey, I don't have a rigid set of scheduled practices that I show up for daily. That was the journey for a long time. And now so many of those practices are muscle memory that I practice them without realizing it. So a few things that I do every day very instinctively, or their go-to skill sets I return to in moments where I'm like, oh crap, I really need to show up for me a little bit more right now. One is mindful breathing. that's just a foundational must have for like every human on the planet, in my opinion. And with my journey, after years of oxygen deprivation from trauma responses that actually led to having 700 hours in an oxygen tube, where every other hour I had to go stop whatever I was doing to go be on oxygen therapy for, 15, 30 minutes. Okay. Like every couple hours for many, many years. See the importance of breathing. And even now I can notice when I have more access to my inner power by how attuned I am with my breathing. When I'm not connected with my breath, there's more likelihood for my body to start unconsciously navigating my moment without connection to my true self. And so being aware of breathing is really important. And for many, many years, like 5, 6 years, there was multiple practices every day of conscious breath work, like 15, 30 minutes, sometimes even longer, of conscious breathing, where literally all you're doing is focusing on breathing. And that's good. And that's beautiful. I usually don't do practices that are exclusively like that now. Sometimes I'll do that and just kind of expand nervous system and things like that. But it's not like a critical component of my daily life, because conscious breathing is a part of my every 5-minute check-in with myself. And so I can always tell if I'm, fully present and stuff, and return to that. And one of the practices I recently shared here in a reel is to make sure that in any given moment, you can pause, notice your breath, notice 1 or 2 pieces of grounding sensory stimulus, especially things in nature, and experience that fully without interruption of thoughts or feelings or memories, sensations. And so that's a regular practice that I do as well. But conscious breathing and being aware of breathing. And so if I notice I'm feeling, rushing, or there's a lot of movement in my body or a lot of thoughts in my mind, that rarely ever happens anymore. But in any moment like that, there's a special notice, maybe make sure that I'm breathing deeply. And every time there's a shift of activity, okay, I stand up, I'm checking in with my breath. I exit the room, I'm checking in with my breath. I enter another room, I'm checking in with my breathing. I step outside, I'm checking in with my breathing. And it's not an activity that I set time aside for. And I'm like, I'm going to go over here and disconnect from my daily reality to go make sure that I'm breathing, right? Like that's good. It's good to make time for that. But if you're not breathing and consciously aware of your nervous system regulation throughout the day, then that doesn't really benefit you in the big picture of things. And so every time there's a shift of activity, okay, I'm moving here. Okay, I'm preparing food. Okay, I'm going to eat. Okay, I'm going to exercise. Okay, I'm going to show up for my one-on-one clients. Okay, I'm going to go do a live stream and invite people into my mentorship. Okay, I'm going to go clean my room. I'm going to go do these errands. I'm going to go do this. Every time there's a shift of activity, the first and foremost thing, as natural as anything can be, is I'm present with my breath. That's awesome. And it becomes muscle memory where you don't have to think about it. It's an automatic thing. It's an automatic thing that happens, becomes muscle memory because of having practiced it so often. Okay. So that's the first practice, is just always being aware of my breath and my breathing and what it's telling me about my nervous system activity and my unconscious memory activity specifically. That's a deeper dive for another time, but based on your awareness of breathing, you can tell what's going on in your brain waves, your autonomic nervous system, your unconscious body memories, and how much they're actively being projected to navigate your moment to moment day. And hello, everyone tuning in live and on the replay. I'm so thankful you're here. I love getting to share time with you. Thank you for sharing the journey. Thank you for taking time to explore these important topics. And thank you for connecting. I'm sending lots of love and so grateful for everyone here on live with me right now, and everyone who will tune in on the replay as well. So then the next practice is, just looking at my notes here. So this is a practice that's really hard to describe for those who maybe don't have experiences with it, but it's a practice of consciously attuning to higher frequencies, where there's a very mindful and intentional connecting to the electromagnetic field of universal consciousness, attuning with the frequencies of my being throughout my 4 body systems, and anchoring in a higher dimensional state of frequency. And I can always tell when I'm getting there because I can actually hear vibrations, and I start yawning really intensely as I feel these higher energies anchoring into my nervous system, activating my DNA, upgrading my neurophysiological capacity to support the energy of my consciousness, the essence of myself, and the substance of my soul from a higher dimensional awareness. A very gradual journey that's been a practice for many, many years, since before I can remember, literally, amnesia joke. And so it's attuning to higher frequencies, very specific practice of attuning with the electromagnetic field of quantum consciousness and feeling a higher vibrational awareness and a higher vibrational potentiality anchor into my mental, emotional, physical, and ethereal bodies through my nervous system, and to feel the energy flowing through me in a way that it affects all the areas of my body. And it's just like a beautiful, beautiful, the most amazing experience ever. And I love it. 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 And that's led to a lot of breakthroughs, because in that process, you kind of clear out some energy blockages and open space into a higher dimensional state of awareness. And it frequently, that anchoring of higher consciousness led to breakthroughs in my own journey as I created new modalities, was teaching myself neuroscience, was self-healing the impossible without any doctors, therapists, coaches, or neurologists of any kind. And so anchoring in that higher consciousness allowed to lead to a lot of breakthroughs. So that's the second practice that is a daily thing, but I don't set time aside for it. It's just a form of muscle memory at this point. It's just something I instinctively do, kind of like you instinctively blink. And then the third practice is a consistent awareness of where internal navigation is coming from. And so if there's a thought, a feeling, a habit, a response, a choice tendency, a pattern of perceiving reality, a pattern of associating with my existence, a pattern of assuming a certain thing about reality life, it's a practice of where is this navigation coming from? Is this coming from the divinity of my consciousness and the essence of my true self? Or is this coming from an unconscious, subconscious pattern in my body because of unprocessed experiences that are still stuck, that need some transmutation? And so to just expand that awareness, and with that awareness, every moment becomes an opportunity to, shift and heal and expand. And that leads to being able to think new thoughts you've never thought before, feel new emotions you've never felt before, make new choices, and create new habits you've never made before, because you're expanding awareness, expanding your consciousness, and expanding the capacity for your body mind to support that by transmuting its existing energies. First, by bringing the light of awareness to them, and then responding in a way that can transform them through practices that I've developed and now teach my one-on-one clients. And so the third thing that I do on a consistent daily basis, and it is a practice, it's never perfect. And there are still days where I, slide and I slip into, oh man, I kind of spiraled with that thought pattern, but I bounced back. I came back and I learned from it, and I reconnected, and I returned to, all that I truly am. And I learned more about how to show up for myself and how to take care of myself and how to respond to these things as I'm navigating new territories and things like that. So, it is a practice for a reason. There's, you're perfect if you're showing up for it. You're perfect if you're practicing. It's not oh yeah, like I've achieved this practice. It's like I practice it. It's something I practice. Okay, so that's the third one. The fourth one is kind of along those lines. It's teaching my body patterns of feeling and movement that support love and presence. And so if I go to, eat food, for example, it's not just I'm here and I'm eating food because I'm hungry and I want to enjoy it. It's how am I teaching my body to instinctively feel and move by how I'm showing up for myself in this moment? Am I teaching my body to feel rushed and to not have the pause to enjoy each bite and not chew my food fully? Or am I showing up and teaching my body, bliss and presence and ease and flow and relaxation and pleasure and safety and security and love and joy? And am I respecting myself in this moment? Am I teaching my body patterns of feeling and movement that can support my love and my presence moving forward? Because how I teach my body to feel and move today is how it will instinctively move and feel in my future tomorrows. And how my body instinctively feels and moves now is just a residual energetic impact of how my body has been taught to feel and move in previous experiences, whether consciously or unconsciously. And so a consistent daily practice, and again, these aren't things that, like, I set time aside and I do this for 20 minutes here. These are practices of mindfulness and awareness and self-love and self-care that are integrated in everyday moments. And you practice them when you wake up, you practice them an hour later, you practice them 5 minutes later, you practice them in the next 5 minutes, you practice them in the next 5 minutes, and you take it with you wherever you go and whatever you do and whatever you're doing. And then as you gradually consistently show up, it becomes a form of muscle memory where it can be an instinctive skill set you can easily connect with. And that really serves and supports you, because then in the moments where it's harder to do that, it's harder to practice it, you're busier, there's more going on, there's more people around, there's more things that you're doing, you're more exhausted, there's more emotions you're working through. Then when it gets hard, you have the inner skill set to support you from the foundation of your being. And that is everything. That is everything. Yes, have practices where you set 20 minutes aside and you're fully focused on your inner realities, but do not allow that to be the only focus. That will only get you so far. You need practices that you can play with through the power of your loving awareness that you can use in everyday moments that can sustain your ongoing transformation and be a solid foundation to serve and support you for the rest of your life. You're building lifelong inner skill sets that can carry you through every transformation and every expansion that you desire now and in the infinite potential of nows to come. That is everything. It means everything. And so I invite you to explore your own practices and what you want from your daily practices. What do you actually desire to experience in the process of them and as a result of them? Okay, so we've got 1, breathing, 2, higher frequencies, 3, where is navigation coming from and consciously responding accordingly, 4, teaching body patterns of feeling and movement that support loving presence. The 5th ritual, that is something that I practice every day and continue to cultivate and expand it. And then as you practice it more and more, you're just like, oh, I didn't even know I was just practicing that. I didn't even know I was just like in my practice right now. I was just like trimming the roses and humming, and I didn't realize I was practicing it because my subconscious, my body mind has learned these new navigational patterns that like really freaking support me. That's pretty cool. So the 5th one is connecting with the soul in the mind and the soul in the body, connecting with the soul through masculine energy and the soul through feminine energy, and connecting with my inner life partner or present moment self and my inner child or childhood self. And in that, supporting relational connections that nourish internal attachment bonds while striving to create somatic satiation for specific internal needs that serve and support the connections in my brain and my body. That's a lot of words. And that's what I dive deep into my the modalities that I've created and now teach through my one-on-one mentorship offerings. And so basically through my journey, I used to experience my left and right brain hemispheres independently of each other. I used to experience masculine and feminine energies as being totally separate from each other. I used to experience the mind and the body as being totally separate from each other. I used to experience myself here and my childhood self as being totally separate from each other. And with that super dramatic disconnection because of the wiring of the brain and the body from complex trauma, I had the miraculous opportunity to get to know these parts of self individually and to learn about the neuroscience that allows us to experience each of these parts of self The masculine energy, the soul and the mind, the present moment self is more so connected with the left brain hemisphere and the mid and front parts of the triune brain. And the soul in the body and the soul of feminine energy and the inner child or childhood self are more so connected with the right brain hemisphere and the mid to back parts of the brain. And that includes the triune brain. And so learning about all of that and the different navigational patterns and what attachment needs connect with each of these parts of self in a very specific way allows there to be a new style of relational connection within the self. And so, just like you would socially engage with a best friend, just like you would socially engage with a romantic partner, just like you would socially engage between a parent and a young child, you practice social engagement within parts of your own self. And so, I am never alone. I'm always here with my masculine. I'm always here with my feminine. I'm always here with my mind. I'm always here with my body. I'm always here with my inner life partner. I'm always here with my inner child. And all of us, all of these parts of me are having the most amazing experience because we, all of me, get to share it together. And so when I am, doing whatever I'm doing, it's not just me as the experiencer focused on experience. There's a very specific practice, and this is one of the core practices that I teach through my one-on-one mentorship journeys, like the practice to rule them all that then allows for everything else to be more expansive, is for the awareness of self to consciously cultivate a loving experience with the experience, or a loving relationship, sorry, for the awareness of self. I'm not tired, you're tired. For the awareness of self to consciously cultivate a loving relationship with the experiencer of self. And from that space to consciously cultivate a loving relationship with the masculine and the feminine, the soul self in the mind, the soul self in the body, the soul self that is the present moment self, the soul self that is the childhood self or foundation of self essence, and for there to be these interrelational experiences. And so, I mean, people make jokes all the time when they look at me. I get a lot of funny looks, and I will never care. I will never care. But I talk to myself a lot, and I talk out loud to myself a lot, and I don't care because I'm always having a conversation with me. Because there was a time where my capacity for inner speech wasn't there. The brain had gone through so much damage from complex trauma, there wasn't the ability for internal communication through thoughts. And so there started to be this pattern of navigation of, I'm going to connect with myself no matter what. I'm going to communicate with myself no matter what. I'm going to be a friend to myself no matter what. So I'm just going to talk out loud to myself. And I just kept that habit even after healing my brain. And so you'll often see me talking to myself when I'm in the stores, when I'm out walking at the park, when I'm out like doing, whatever it is, like I talk to myself, and I have no problem with that. My best friend will always be me. My greatest romantic love will always be me. And the greatest liberation of my inner child will always be because of the relationship I have with myself. And so the most powerful practice, this is something I've been practicing for 7 years, every single day without fail. 7 years, every single day without fail, consistently throughout the entire day. 7 years is socially engaging with myself. And when I notice a part of me getting frustrated, instead of being like, I am so frustrated, I'm like, hey, why are you so frustrated, babe? How can I be there to support you? What's going on? What's got you going? And then I can laugh and I can cry and I can respond like I'm in the presence of someone who loves me unconditionally and has the power to serve and support me even when I'm going through a tough time. And then those parts of self build this inner trust where the relationship with you is so solid. Nothing can stand between you and the love that you are. And you can find out more about my personal journey, but the fact that there is this interconnection relationship is a miracle, is a complete miracle. So that's the most important practice. There's so many ways to practice that, but that's the concept of it. I share dozens and dozens of specific applications of that idea through my one-on-one mentorship and through my self-guided journeys as well. The next practice that's something I show up for every day is expanding through embodiment and expression. And so embodiment often looks like Singing, lots of singing. I freaking love to sing. And I really don't care whether it sounds good or not. Sometimes it sounds great. Sometimes it's pretty off key, but I freaking love to sing. I freaking love to sing. Parts of me used to write original music and songs. Parts of me used to play the guitar, just all kinds of stuff. But I freaking love to sing. I love singing. And so, and singing is part of my embodiment practice and expanding how my own vocal tone can be anchored at different pitches and different, volume states and like all of it. I love to sing. So singing is part of my embodiment practice. Intuitive body movement and doing exercise that I enjoy, which changes, moment to moment and day to day. Sometimes I love yoga and I love Pilates and it's like ecstasy. And sometimes I show up at my mat and I'm like, this is the last place I want to be because there's some other way I can show up for my body right now. And I honor that. I don't force myself to show up for a practice I don't like. I go bike riding. I go rollerblading. I go dancing in the field at sunset. I go bounce on a trampoline. I go do something that can allow movement and health and well-being and exercise in my body, but in a way that feels good in the moment. So embodiment practices through body movement, through vocal expression, and just listening to what my body's wanting. Sometimes that means I let myself eat several pieces of chocolate and go over my normal, like 10% max of your daily sugar intake. Like, I'm like, oh, normally I'm like, 5% of the recommended sugar intake and I'm good with that. And today was like 100%. And, sometimes that's okay. It depends why you're doing it. Are you doing it because you're trying to escape yourself? Are you doing it to cope with emotions? Are you doing it because you're not grounded in your body? Or are you doing it because you love yourself and you deserve a treat and you deserve to feel good in the moment? So it just depends why you're doing it and how often you're doing it. But yeah, just listening to what I desire. Do I want to go stare at the clouds? Do I want to go on a bike ride? Do I want to go look at tiny bugs? Do I want to go like pet a skunk? I love petting wild skunks. Like these are all types of embodiment practices because I'm teaching all parts of me to be present in my body in a way that feels good. Singing and dancing in mirrors, just doing whatever I want to do, running, doing things that I won't mention, inappropriate nudity. But just allowing for practices that allow me to feel good and grounded in my body. And then expansion through expression. And that's something I'm doing right now. I'm showing up and I'm expressing myself. And, it's me getting to be me. One of the themes in 2020 was, and if you don't know what was going on, then long story short, split brain hemispheres, oxygen deprivation, couldn't create new memories from anterograde amnesia, retrograde amnesia, couldn't remember my whole life, split brain hemispheres, nervous system dysregulation, brainwave dysregulation, trauma responses 24/7, processing decades of complex trauma, mind-body disconnect, just the gnarliest of the gnarliest, age regressing to like 2 years old because of suppressed childhood trauma, like all of the things, right? And the big thing was like, I want to be a me that I don't have to think about. I want to be a me where I don't have to be like, wait, is this who I am? Wait, did I say the right thing? Wait, is this emotion actually how I feel? Is this emotion something that I'm is like a part of me? Like, is this like, am I me right now? Like, I want to be a me I don't have to think about. I want to be a me that's just like me without me having to figure out who that is. And so expression is, expansion through expression is one of my daily practices. And that looks like a lot of things, but this is a big part of it. Showing up on social media and allowing this to be the journey of my soul's greatest expansion, and also a platform to invite people into my one-on-one mentorship journeys, sharing all the modalities I've developed through the past 7 years. But it's a journey of expanding into my own expression and being a me I don't have to think about. Being a me I don't have to think about, and to just exist as I am and to expand how that me is being expressed. And yeah, talking, showing up, creating, expressing, writing, speaking, all the different things, different stuff that goes into that. And so expanding through embodiment and expression, through intuitive movement and inspired action. That's one of my daily practices. And how that actually looks varies, but it's something that I show up for every single day, no matter what, no matter what's going on, no matter how I feel, no matter nothing. Social self-engagement, nourishing internal relationships, connecting with the different aspects of self through the mind, the body, masculine, feminine, the present moment self, the childhood self, creating relational internal attachments, helping all parts of me feel seen and loved, valued and wanted, respected, embraced, safe and secure, supported and connected. So those feelings are my natural state of being because I've encoded them into my body. And the final one I'm going to share here is imagination station. This is I have lots of inner child practices, but this is one of the ones, imagination station. And it's where I connect with my inner life partner, my present moment self, and my inner child, the foundation of my self essence. And we go to our imagination station and we dream new dreams, all parts of me. We say, if there were no limits, what would I desire? What would that look like? What would that feel like? How big can I dream? How deeply can I explore the miracles of life? How much can I break my own self out of the box that I unconsciously created? And so imagination station is just a time to dream and play and explore possibilities and Google new activities. Like, there was a time that I didn't even know like paragliding and parasailing was a thing because I had amnesia and I couldn't remember my whole life and I had no experiences of experiencing literally anything. Like there was a time that I didn't know a lot of like basic ordinary things exist that most people are aware of, whether they've done them or not, because I had amnesia and I couldn't remember my whole life, literally. And so just finding out that like water sports exist, like I didn't know that water sports existed because I had amnesia. And I repeat, I couldn't remember my whole life. And so like I was rediscovering the existence of all these things. I didn't know there was mountain biking. Obviously, a part of me knew that. Like parts of me went mountain biking in high school and had friends that did it as like an active sport. But with amnesia, I couldn't remember any of that. So I got to rediscover that mountain biking exists, like little things like that. And so imagination station is just a time for dreaming and connection with my childhood self. And what kind of desires would my inner child have now as an adult if there'd never been decades of complex trauma and I'd always had space to expand into all that I am. So that's another one of my daily practices. So those are just a sneak peek taste test into the daily practices that I enjoy now. There was, again, as I mentioned towards the beginning of this video, a time where there was more very specific practices. And every day I wake up and I do 20 minutes of yoga and I do 10 minutes of breath work and I do 10 minutes of meditation. I do 10 minutes of journaling and I do this form of exercise at this time of day. And I go record videos for this many hours with this many breaks and I have lunch and it takes, 2 hours as I do a whole meditation before, during, and after my lunch. Like there used to be very specific practices that were very strict and they worked. They healed my brain. They healed my brain. They healed my body. And there is a time and a place to have very specific, more rigid or disciplined practices. But through 5, 6, 7 years of being very disciplined in over 100 healing practices, they worked and I healed my brain and I healed my body and I reunified myself. And now I get to just flow with life and have a million tools in my back pocket with expansive awareness in each moment and show up accordingly and nourish that inner relationship. So thank you so much for everyone tuning in live and on the replay. I appreciate sharing this time with you and feel free to comment below. What practices do you do? Where are you at with the journey of building a trusting relationship with all parts of you and, really nourishing that inner relationship with self where parts of you can learn to trust you because you know how to show up for all parts of you. And, what practices do you enjoy? What practices create transformation? Where are you at? So feel free to share in the comments your own experience with daily practices, and I'd love to connect further. And if anyone's interested in diving in deeper, I would love to invite you into my 3 or 6 month one-on-one mentorship journey. In this journey, we explore body, mind, soul treasure mapping. We literally get to treasure map the miracles of your body, mind, and soul using creative collisions between neuroscience and consciousness through an original modality I've developed over the past 7 years. And it allows you to get to know yourself in ways you never could have imagined possible. It's basically an advanced style of parts work, referencing internal family systems model, but it goes deeper because you're not just working with psychology or the mind, you're working with neuroscience and the structures of your brain and your body and consciousness and the essence of your actual soul self. with understanding of how consciousness and the soul flow through your neurobiology, backed by neuroscience. And so treasure mapping, you literally get to draw and color and play while having this expanded awareness of all parts of self. And then there are personalized play prompt prescriptions. You are literally prescribed play. And it's through daily practices like some of the things that I shared about here and some of the practices I used earlier on in my journey, when there was a little bit more healing and building of inner trust and stuff that needed a little bit more of, I need to show up for this practice every day and it's more disciplined. And so just a variety of practices, and every journey is personalized to fit who you are, where you're at, what your intentions are. Most of the time, the clients that I work with already have daily practices of, nervous system regulation and grounding in your body and mindfulness and self-love and self-care. But these practices are designed to take you a step further, to go deeper, to nourish internal relational connections with all parts of self in a way that can rewire your nervous system, rewire your brain hemispheres, rewire unconscious body memories, and how past experiences are stored in your body, mind, and navigating life beyond awareness by just nourishing relational connections with all parts of self. And yeah, so then there's body, mind, soul treasure mapping, personalized play prompt prescriptions. And then we dive deeper through marathon journeys. I'm glancing over there because I've been talking to myself in a mirror most of this time. Over 10,000 hours singing and talking to myself in mirrors is part of how I healed my brain and my body. A big part of it. Social self-engagement, nourishing body, mind, soul attachment systems is a big foundational structure of all of my work, personally and professionally in my journey. So guided marathons serve as a juncture between brain spotting and shamanic soul retrieval. And so in brain spotting techniques, you use certain eye movements to activate data in your brain and your body with the intention to rewire and transform it. And so that's what the marathons do, but in a different way, because this is an original technique I've developed, again, over 7 years, over 20,000 hours of self-led work, independent of external guidance, assistance. There was no support from social circles or neurologists I was working with. This was all through my own inner work. And so the brain spotting technique, I believe, I forget the name of the gentleman. I read a book about it and it planted a seed and led to creating my own version of it using mirrors. But brain spotting technique is a way to use eye movements to activate data in the brain and body and rewire it to transform residual impacts of trauma. And so with this, we can rewire disconnections of the brain hemispheres, disconnections of the triune brain, disconnections of the nervous system, disintegrated data in unconscious emotional and procedural memories that carry patterns of feeling and movement from any painful past experience, little t, capital T trauma. And then in the process, the guided marathons also serve as something parallel with a shamanic soul retrieval along with the brain spotting. And so as you're rewiring the brain and the body to transmute present navigational patterns and how past experiences now affect you beyond awareness, you're also reunifying with all aspects of self. And so when there were moments of unmet internal needs from past experiences, little t or capital T traumas, a part of the body, mind, and an aspect of self essence became disconnected from the unified totality of your true self. And we want to reunify those aspects of self with the present moment essence of your soul so that you can have more wholeness, more inner fulfillment, more inner unity. And from that space, then expand into more embodiment, expression, expansion, confidence, worthiness, self-respect, self-worth, self-esteem, self-value, joy, freedom, bliss, presence, abundance, peace. I'm going through my little model, all the words that used to describe it: fulfillment, wholeness, freedom, power, presence, bliss, joy, embodiment, abundance, peace, freedom. That goes through the full circle, emotional fulfillment, and the self-actualization of your truest, fullest, highest expression of self. And then there are also personalized marathon prescriptions based on your intentions and everything we discover through body, mind, soul treasure mapping, the play prompt prescriptions, and the guided marathons. Then you add practices of play in mirrors. to your collection of daily rituals. And in that process, the emphasis is nourishing relational connections within the self, growing attachment bonds between aspects of self within parts of the body mind, and creating a felt sense for your internal need to experience the unconditional love that is the truth of who you are, to allow all parts of you to feel seen, loved, cherished, treasured, appreciated, celebrated, wanted, valued, supported, connected, with closeness and vulnerability and community and collaboration inside of your own consciousness, inside of your own body, mind, soul. To have a felt sense, a somatically felt sense, meaning that it's felt within your body, a somatically felt sense of safety, security, sustenance, stability, protection, provision, respect, embrace, acceptance, allowance, permission, and to have opportunity, space, direction, guidance, purpose, importance, and belonging, where it is felt inside of your body because of the relationship you are consciously cultivating with all parts of you. And so that's the journey. If you're interested in a 3 or 6 month one-on-one mentorship through this journey I shared, it includes weekly sessions, daily practices, and access to 15 different playbooks and videos I've created that are referenced during our time together. So it's like, check out these 10 pages this week. You don't have to like go through all of them, right? You just have access to them, and then pieces of them are referenced to correlate with each step of your journey to serve and support you, so that you get more value than just our 1 hour session each week. And then after our time together, you continue having access to these 15 playbooks and videos, so you can continue to dive deeper and cultivate and integrate and expand everything gained through this journey. And in this journey, it's about nourishing inner body, mind, soul unity. So your mind is the meeting space between your body and your soul, where your inner realms feel like a loving, nourishing home to live in and experience life through. And there's just this nourishing, loving, supportive relationship between your masculine and your feminine, between your mind and your body, between all parts of your brain and your nervous system, and between your present moment self and your childhood self or inner child. And then from there to expand into more of those somatic emotions that I described and that I talk about throughout my work. The somatic emotions of embodied worthiness, empowered confidence, blissful presence, abundant peace, freedom, joy, wholeness, ecstatic love, emotional fulfillment, passion, pleasure, play, awe, wonder, magic, childlike curiosity, to have inner leadership and that inner bold confidence and divine anchored knowingness and that clarity of vision for your own inner leadership, and to expand the capacity for you to be all that you are within your embodied expression. And it just makes life juicier. And in the process, you get to transform traumas, residual impact of painful past experiences, expand your sense of self, your personal identity, the manner in which you associate with your own self, so that your sense of self comes from the ecstatic love and liberated wholeness of who you are. And your mind becomes a space where it's full union with your soul and your body, instead of the mind having all this chitter chatter going on or whatever might be arising. Your mind is a place where you meet your body and you meet your soul with love and in wholeness. So that's the journey. If you're interested in this 3 or 6 month one-on-one mentorship, you can comment below, eager or ready, or you can privately message me. I can share the page that has all the details, and we can chat and see if this could be a perfect fit for you. I would be honored to serve and support your journey in this deep, intimate, and expansive way. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you for being you, and have a beautiful and blessed day, night, evening. Thank you for everyone tuning in live and on the replay. Sending lots of love. Woohoo! Da, da, da. Da, da, da. Thanks so much for everyone tuning in. I appreciate you. I love you. And I'm grateful to share the journey.